Hey everyone, it's Felicity, it's Penguin Teen TV, and I'm thrilled to have my next guest. She's an international superstar, but she's also toured Australia not once but twice. It's Rachel Caine, and she's here to talk about the Morganville Vampire series. First of all, Rachel Caine, hello, welcome to Penguin Teen TV. So glad to have you here. Not here in person though, which is a shame.
Thanks and hello. I'm so excited to be here on Penguin Teen TV again. I miss you. I miss Australia. You guys are amazing and awesome, and I want to come back soon. But I'm here right now in Texas, and I understand you're going towards summer. We are supposedly out of summer, but actually, it's still summer. Yeah, it's summer. I just had a mosquito fly at me in here, so yeah, we're summer. But it's great to be here, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Can you tell us a little bit about the journey of Morganville as a web series? Originally, it was acquired for a film, correct?
It's been a really interesting journey because the first thing that happened was, I think in about 2009, we got an option that was a very traditional kind of film television option. What that generally means is that a producer is going to try to make something happen. And he tried for 3 years and it was almost there so often. He was great and he worked really hard at it. Very, very lovely man. And I don't regret at all doing it that way. But by the time we got to 2012, he had to really say, I don't think this is going to happen this way. You might want to consider something else. So about that time, I was having a conversation with Felicia Day. And Felicia Day, in case you don't know, is the kind of founder and owner of Geek and Sundry. She was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She created a web series called The Guild, which is hugely popular. She was in Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. She's a great person. And Felicia said, you ought to consider doing this as a web series. And I said, well, I don't know really anything about it. And so she said, well, I just know somebody in Dallas who's already got web series going. So why don't you talk to him? And so she introduced me to Blake Calhoun. And Blake had, at the time, Pink, which was an award-winning web series, and Continuum, which was just starting, and another great series. So we had a lovely conversation about it, and we decided, it might be possible to do it this way. It was, yes, a bold move, I guess. But you got to remember also, things are changing very quickly, because when I started talking to him about this, web series was the term that we were using for these kinds of things. Actually, now the term is digital series, because it's not just web-based. There are so many platforms now that are producing original content. It's not just a clean line anymore. So you've got Netflix producing things like Orange is the New Black and House of Cards, and you've got shows on Hulu that are original, and you've got shows coming out on Amazon and Google that are original. So all of these things are very exciting, and it seemed like the right place to be all of a sudden. So it's very exciting that we're actually there, and we actually have something that we're about to show.
What would you say is the greatest challenge about turning the books into a web series?
It was a different challenge, I think, adapting the books for this particular format. If you think about it, in a book to a film, you generally have 2 hours, maybe even 3 hours if you've got a huge epic movie, to tell your story, do all of these great characterizations, these long sweeping scenes, all of these characters. You probably have a pretty big budget, but then you talk about television, and television, you're expected to tell a story pretty quickly in about 40 minutes, really, in the first episode. Generally, your 40-minute episode is just going to establish the world. It's not going to really tell a complete story necessarily, at least these days. And you probably would have 13 episodes maybe in a season, or even 20 if you were a network show, in which to tell that first season story. But when you're talking about this kind of show, a digital show, what we were aiming for was short episodes that when you put them together, because we know we all like to binge watch, oh yeah, I do, you would get something that tells a complete story arc in about 70 to 75 minutes, maybe. The timing is not final yet, so I'm not exactly sure what that time comes in at. But it was very different because you've got to tell almost a complete story. You've got to have a beginning, middle, end in 8 to 10 minutes. Very short. And you got to establish the world and the characters and everything else in that first 8 minutes. So it's really exciting to do. And we had to make some interesting choices, I think, along the way. Not necessarily bad choices, just creatively interesting choices. Like, you have a certain budget, and maybe you can't have every character that was in the book. You can only really tell the story that's the central part of the book and the characters who are central to that story. So very interesting process of adaptation. I was very excited to do that.
So the key four being Claire, Shane, Michael and Eve, what was the casting process like for them? Obviously you had to get it right.
Yeah, we did actually have a very interesting casting process, especially for those main four actors, because we really wanted to open up to my readers worldwide to let them have a chance to show off their skills. And so we actually did an open audition, digital audition, so anybody from around the world could record a scene. I actually put the scene out, and they could record it themselves, send it into a specific email address, and we would watch it, and we would try to pick some people to go on to the next round. And in fact, we actually had a lot of people send in auditions. I don't know exactly what the final count was, but it was close to 200 auditions. It was very exciting. And I did watch every one of them, and it was amazing how many really good actors there were who really wanted to do these parts. We did have to put some restrictions in. We did have to say we couldn't take anybody below the age of 18 because in the US there are restrictions about how many hours a day you can work if you are under 18, and especially if you are in school, you have to have alternative schooling. There's some things like that we had to consider. So we decided to just do an age 18 and then go from there. Unfortunately, there were some people that didn't get to audition because of that. I'm really sorry because I know you wanted to. But we had auditions for Claire and Eve that way. And then we picked, I believe it was about 3 or 4 people from each role, and then sent them on to the casting director. Now, meanwhile, the casting director, we actually had auditions in Los Angeles, in Dallas, in Austin, Texas, and in New Orleans, Louisiana. And so it was quite a competition. We had a lot of people and a lot of actors that were in the mix for this. I think we went to 3, maybe even 4 rounds of auditions. And when you got to the last audition, there was a really long monologue, and I still have to apologize to everybody who was in that last round of auditions because I didn't know how long a monologue should be, and that was really, really long. Sorry.
You have some pretty famous people for a web series. You were Amber Benson, who was on Buffy, and Robert Picardo, who was on Star Trek. How did that come about?
We did get some amazingly great people on board for this very unlikely project. I mean, it's a pretty small project in the terms of the budget that most kinds of projects have, and yet we attracted some amazing people. Well, Amber Benson, I knew Amber as a writer first because we both are published through Penguin Books in the US, and we run into each other a lot at conventions. And hilariously, it took me maybe a couple of times because I'm slow after I met her to realize that she actually was the Amber Benson from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, at which point I was a little scared to even talk to her for a while. But she's so lovely that I couldn't be scared. But Amber and I get along well, and we were on a panel together at Comic-Con, Buffy trivia panel, oddly enough, and I leaned over to her about 1 minute before the panel started, and I said, Amber, listen, if we can get this Morganville web series project off the ground, would you be interested in playing Amelie? And she said, yes, I'd love to. And that was how easy it was, because she's just great. She not only jumped on board when there actually was no project, but she donated things like she offered to take pictures, cast pictures to add to the goodies that we were giving away in Amelie makeup. She volunteered to have a party with Kickstarter backers. So she's just been super supportive the whole time, and she's so talented, and I think you're going to be so excited to see her in this show. She's been in some great films and some great projects, and we're very lucky to have her. uh, as to the role of Oliver, we were looking at some really good actors for that part, and I can't even remember who brought it up. Might have been somebody from Geek and Sundry who said, "Hey, what do you think about maybe asking Robert Picardo for if he'd be interested in playing Oliver?" And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. It was a fabulous choice, and we weren't even sure he would have the time to do it, but he said yes, and it's such a huge win for us because he's a great actor. He has done so many roles in so many shows, in so many films, and he's a household name in fandom for many of his parts. So we were very lucky to get him. He's been super great about supporting the project, and he gets to wear long hair. I think he's happy about that. And then the third person, Ben Easter. Ben is just a lovely guy, and we were so lucky. He came and auditioned for this part, and this is a guy who's in Independence Day, and I Know What You Did Last Summer too, and he's just a great actor in his own right, and he was so passionate about this part. He really wanted the part of Michael, and boy, he nailed it. You're going to be so excited about this.
The photos from the behind the scenes filming look like everybody really got along. Is that true?
You know, those photos don't do it justice, frankly. You can see the energy and the friendship and the camaraderie in those photos, but it was just there all the time on this set. In fact, almost every one of the people came up to me and said, "This is the friendliest, nicest, most pleasant set, and we're having such a good time doing this show." It just really, everybody really clicked and turned in some fantastic work. Worked long hours. We were up early and working late and into, up before dawn and, into the night. But it was so fun to do, and so rewarding to hang out with these people. We're just, I feel like they're part of my family now, and it's really nice.
Does the web series leave room for more episodes, or have you covered all of the 15 books so far in the series?
The series actually focuses only on glass houses on the first book, partly because, again, we have a limited span of time in which to tell the story. But what was interesting about it was, as I was adapting it, I thought, I don't want to just repeat dialogue from books that people have already read. I want to try to reinterpret that dialogue a little bit in terms of how I know the characters now versus how I knew them when I wrote book one. And so it's still their dialogue, but I think it's boiled down to its essentials, which is really a fun thing to do, to come back to that story and look at it with fresh eyes. And so, yeah, there's plenty of room for more episodes. And what will make that possible is having a lot of people watch the show because it's a numbers driven business, and we would love for people to watch the show with their friends and spread the word and watch it again. But that's kind of how we're going to get to season 2. So help us out.
And you've finished writing the Morganville book series for now, but do you miss it? It's obviously been a little while since you were last back in that world in a literary sense.
Yeah, I do miss Morganville. In fact, I miss it so much that as part of the Kickstarter backer program that we did, one of the reward levels was get a custom short story written by me, and not written by like some random stranger, but by me. And there were 5 people that signed on, and one actually also wanted a story for her daughter. So I ended up writing 6 stories for that. And then I had such a good time writing those stories that I'm writing another one right now, just because I'm writing another one. I love writing these characters, and I do miss them. I'm not ruling out more stories in this universe at all, but I did feel like 15 books is a huge investment of time and money for people, and I wanted to give them a little break, myself a little break, and see what happens next. So I'm not saying I'm done with it, because obviously I'm not. but but as to whether or not that's going to be more books, or it's going to be short stories, or more Morganville episodes, I don't know what form that will take. But I'm pretty sure we're going to stay in Morganville in some form, at least for a while.
Well, Rachel, as always, thank you so much for your time. You're very generous to your Australian fans, and we so appreciate that. Thank you for being part of Penguin Teen TV. We cannot wait to see Morganville.
Thank you so much for having me again on Penguin Teen TV. It's been a delight. Thanks for the great questions, and I've had a wonderful time answering them. I'm looking forward to the show. I can't give you the exact release date, but I can tell you by the end of October, you will see this show, and it's going to be on YouTube at the Geek and Sundry channel. That's Geek, GeekAndSundry. And we'll have all kinds of information coming out within the next days. It's going to be a big fountain of information. So stay tuned. I can't say it's going to be on this channel, but it'll be on the Geek and Sundry channel on YouTube. But we're very eager to bring this show to you, and thank you so much for being Morganville residents. I know that there are a lot of you out there, and you've meant a lot to me. You continue to mean a lot to me, and I want to see you soon. Thank you.
So guys, that was Morganville Vampires behind the scenes with Rachel Caine. We are super excited about this series. We love a good web series here at Penguin Teen TV, and I think this may become our new obsession. As always, thanks for joining us at Penguin Teen TV. You can follow us anytime you like on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook, our website. We're on the internet all the time, but we hope you've enjoyed this Morganville Vampires special, and also we hope you enjoy what you're reading.